Well, welcome to Tape Swap Radio. Our guest today is Jess Meoni, a community organizer in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre and Northeast Pennsylvania. Hey, Jess.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you're involved in a lot of things around the Scranton area, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the things you're involved in. So most recently, you did a punk rock flea market and zine fest, correct?
Right. So we did that in June. It's been held in June for almost 10 years now. If you count the zine fest, we basically ended up combining both the zine fest that I was doing for about 9 years, and then last year we started doing a punk rock flea market because we saw that was starting to become relevant in the area. There was a few other people that were also doing punk rock flea markets, and then since there was so much overlap, we decided to just merge that. And then we ended up calling it the Weird and Wired Punk Bazaar and Zine Expo.
Would you consider doing it more than just annually? Like, would you do it like twice a year or?
Well, we did the punk rock flea market. When we started doing it, we did it 3 times last year. But this past June, we basically just made it a huger event. We had 60 vendors or so, and they came in from like the tri-state area. And basically, the punk rock flea markets before were definitely smaller. There were like half the amount of vendors, and it was at the Kaiser Valley Community Center. But we basically did like a spring, summer, fall version of that.
That's awesome.
So I'm still trying to figure out which is better to do. It's all trial and error, and it's all different every single year too. So, but I enjoy it a lot because you get to you meet a lot of really great people that way. You get to see a lot of really great art, and just find out that people are just doing really cool things in the area.
Right, and you've been involved in music around the area for a while now, correct?
Yeah, I started playing in bands in high school. My band was called Satellite. We played Cafe Metro. That's like our claim to fame, you know.
Cool.
Back in those days, so like mid 2000s or so. And I wasn't in a band for a while, and now I am with Wife Swamp, the new band.
What's Wife Swamp?
It's a swamp of wives. And that's been really fun too. But in general, I feel like I've been in many different areas with promotion and stuff around here. So I do a zine called Ruthless, which, I do interviews of bands. I try to do as many as I can, and it's not really limited to any genre. I've been doing that since 2009, and that's usually monthly if I can get it out. And then I also screen print with my friend Victoria. We have a little business called Second Banana because we're not the first banana. And we do like patches and shirts and buttons and stickers, like band merch and stuff, and some of our own designs and whatnot too. But we try to be there for the bands in case they need someone to create that merchandise. So we do that too. So those are like the 2 main things. I write, and then I basically create band merch and book shows too, obviously. So that's all been fun. I feel like I didn't find out that I wanted to do this until, went to college and spent all that money. But I went to school for graphic design though, so it did help. But as far as really finding out what your passions were and knowing that, I guess you can't so much go to school to learn to want to be a community organizer, but I always wanted to own a venue in Scranton and that whole thing. And I'm fortunate for the people around here that do run venues and whatnot. And it would be great to, have more all ages places and things like that.
We were actually discussing it on the drive up, and I'm from the area, but I've been removed for quite a while now, and I was like, I really don't know of any of the all ages venues in the Scranton or Wilkes-Barre area. I'm familiar with the Bog, as I mentioned to you before, and I know the Other Side was a thing. I don't know if that's still happening in Wilkes-Barre or not.
No, the Other Side closed down because the owner passed away.
Okay, but, I did hear that actually.
Yeah. But there's Carl Hall. That's all ages. That's still around the square too. So they always have shows that end right at 11 o'clock, right on time for everyone to go to bed. But geez, like other than that, I don't know. I try to book the community center, the Kaiser Valley Community Center, as much as I can, and make that like an all ages place. Or I'll try to do shows up at Nyack Park or something outside. I've also done some around the square downtown in Scranton too. I try to like, you say sorry later in my book if you could try to like, because to me it's like for the betterment of getting younger people more exposed and inspired to create bands around here and pick up an instrument and write lyrics and whatnot. And for the most part, I feel like our city would, want to do that. But I know that with rent and everything, it's hard to just have a venue. So I'm like grateful when they allow me to have different ventures up in the parks and whatnot. So
you're kind of utilizing more like community spaces or...
Yeah, when I can. I mean, so there's that one. There's the Kaiser Valley Community Center. There's also the Trip Park Community Center. There's different fire halls, and there's places in Dunmore, different spaces like that. I guess it just depends. Like, these places don't want you to go so late either. So it can get difficult. Like, Nyack Park has a curfew, for example. Like, they want you out of there at like 8 o'clock or something, 9 o'clock, and that's really tough. So, but
it's
I mean,
really early.
Yeah, right. That's like the show starts then, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot that you're involved in, and it's cool to hear about some of the places that are still out booking music and putting on bands.
Yeah, definitely. We're huge supporters of the Keys. Jen is the owner from the Keys. She supports everybody that comes into her venue and makes them feel really welcome. So shout out to Jen.
So tell me about Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, the area. What do you think about the scene and where it's at? Do you have any overarching thoughts?
Yeah, I would say it's actually very diverse, and it's always been to me kind of like Philadelphia or New York's little brother. To me, there isn't one hugely dominating genre or anything, although like punk and metal bands around here, I guess it's just because I attend those shows the most, but there's like jazz groups around here. There's a lot of indie rock around here. There's a lot of rap. There's a lot of hip hop groups. So, and I've covered like all different kinds of music in my zine too, so I could definitely tell you that there's a good mix of stuff around here, some folk, Americana, things like that. And it's just really great to see bands even performing different kinds of bands performing together at once. And there's so many people that will just like come together and they book a show. I mean, like not just me. And I really feel like there's a determination around here for music to be exposed in such a small town. I go to other places and I don't think I see as much wanting to keep up with a DIY type of scene as Scranton.